That's about it. Welcome to Derry, episode 4. This episode, of course, I think is the one where we're starting to see things really swing in a new direction. I will admit the first 3 or so episodes definitely took a bit of their time to get us really into feeling where the show wants to go. I think with episode 4, though, we are really starting to see that this is about to get really good. So this episode is called The Great Swirling Apparatus of Our Planet's Function, and pretty much is a detailed sort of like origin of Pennywise. So we're going to quickly address some of the things that happened in this episode and where exactly could we be going for the next one, which I think is going to be a great one, because indeed the next one is called Neibolt Street, the Neibolt house, right? So this episode pretty much has our storyline starting to really connect together, right? Because of course we have our army storyline where we have Major Hanlon as well as Dick Halloran trying to go out and find the secret weapon that General Shaw wants, right? And we found out that this is actually it. He is looking for it because he remembers it from his childhood, and his childhood friend Rose, who is a Native American to Derry, ultimately was able to tell him about this evil that's out there, and he wants to harness it in his hope to end the Cold War. I feel like there's something more to it that we don't know just yet. And we see that Major Hanlon starts to really learn a lot about what's going on here. First and foremost, he confronts Dick Halloran about this because he finds out from his son Will that there's something out here, because during a fishing trip, something tries to pull Will down. And Major Hanlon's like, yeah, things are getting pretty creepy out here. And he starts seeing this red balloon all over, like, where he's at, right? And he's realizing slowly but surely that there is more than meets the eye here. Dick Halloran tries to sort of explain to him, but eventually he does confront General Shaw, and General Shaw says, let me show you something real quick. And he takes him into a room where in the other side of the mirror, Dick Halloran is going to start sort of interrogating Daniel, who is the nephew of Rose. And Daniel, he has information that they want to use. And this information is, how can they go out and find it? Of course, Daniel's not going to give his information out just like that, right? The Native Americans here have been trying to stop whatever they're doing. The sort of quote-unquote project is building a pipeline, but obviously they're out here looking for it. And the Native Americans know this. They don't want it to be released. Dick Halloran basically says, you know what, Daniel, you don't even have to speak because I can get the information out of you. And what we see is that he's able to enter his mind, eventually coming to a room where all of Daniel's memories are being held. One in particular is the memory of him speaking to his Aunt Rose, where he recounts the story of the Galoo. This is what the Native Americans refer to as it. Apparently, it came down, crashing down on Earth millions of years ago. As we know, it is a cosmic evil entity that is meant to devour worlds, right? But the ancestors for Daniel were able to find a way to contain it by using the own shards of the rock in which it came, the Star of Sorts. And they were able to do this for many, many years until the settlers came. The colonizers were here and ultimately ruined this whole situation here and ended up making the monster stronger because they didn't heed the warning of don't go into those woods, don't mess up with anything in there. Now they decided, I know what I'm doing, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And of course we see that that was not the right move, eventually leading to the death of many and it growing stronger than ever. What they decide to do is to eventually put it back in its place by using these same shards and everything that they're able to get from the crash site and making these pillars of sorts where it's going to be contained just to this area. And of course, this is what General Shaw wants to know, as well as Dick Halloran, because they're trying to figure out how to really get it and harness it. So some things are going to get moved, and I think that we're going to see Pennywise run havoc around here. Now, before we get into the ending of what we discover, let's talk about what's going on with Will and his friends. But more importantly, before we get into that, also Charlotte is starting to really dig deep into Derry as well, as she is now going to go out and try to help Ronnie's father. As we know, Ronnie's father is currently in jail because everybody assumes that he is the one that killed the kids in the theater back in episode 1. We know that's not the case. Of course, it was Pennywise. But what exactly was Ronnie's father doing? Because there is a witness that says they saw him going out of his home. Well, we find out in this episode that he was actually getting pretty close with a woman, a married woman, and as he puts it, even like lightly to Miss Charlotte here. What makes it all worse is this is a white woman in racist America, and it wasn't gonna fly for Derry and all of that. So he wants to keep this woman protected, and he doesn't want to get hung from a tree either, as he says, because Derry, they're racist over here. He tells Charlotte if she finds a way to be able to get him out of here, but he can't go out and say what happened here, then he'll talk to her. But until now, you know what? I don't know what else we can do for you, right? The other thing we see as well is Lily, Ronnie, Rich, and also Will figuring out how they can confront Pennywise. Now, what needs to happen here, however, is they need to stop being scared of Pennywise. They realize that Pennywise is just trying to make them get a lot of adrenaline, cortisol, in order for them to taste better once he eats them. So they decide to use some of Lily's mom's prescriptions in order to sort of calm their nerves and not get as scared. Now, things seem to be okay. They got it figured out. That is until we realize that Pennywise plays a little differently here. Marge is doing a prank on Lily in which they are going to embarrass her in front of the school, and this is going to be in order for her to be a full-on patty cake, right? But Marge decides to back out, but before she can tell Lily the truth, we see that she begins to get a snail eyes, and of course they were learning about snails here, and she tries to cut them off, and Lily's trying to help her. Eventually we see Marge hurt her eye, and Lily is holding the weapon she used, as Lily was just trying to calm her down, but it eventually leads to the whole school seeing this. It looks like Lily's going back into the asylum for sure. And at the end of the episode, when Dick Halloran asks where can he start looking for these pillars in order to harness its power, we see that Daniel points him to Nevolt Street. Nevolt House is where you go. We're going back to Nevolt House. That is the name of the next episode, and once we get the trailer and everything for it, we'll be talking about it, so stay tuned for that. But I'm definitely excited to see what's going to be unfolding here. So pretty much we learned a lot in this last episode, y'all. We learned where Pennywise came from, as we've known that already a little bit, but we got a bit more information of how he was contained for so long and why he now is running rampant and trying to escape out of Derry, right? And we've also learned that Lily indeed is never going to catch a break. It seems like every episode something's going on with Lily, and this is no exception here. Charlotte as well, I think, is going to be integral in the storyline of trying to get Ronnie's father out of the situation he's in, and I'm curious if she's going to be able to do so. I'm curious about who this woman is. What if it's like the chief's wife or something like that? It's got to be something like a very important person here that he doesn't want the truth to come out, because the wife is definitely going to get into some shit. Also, I'm curious where Dick Halloran goes with this information, right? Will he be the one that goes to Nevolt House? Is he going Major Hanlon? Is that where Major Hanlon sees all of these visions that we saw in the Weeks Ahead trailer as well? Because that's definitely what it seems to me here. Do we have this information sort of making it into the ears of Will unexpectedly by Major Hanlon maybe talking about it somewhere, and that's why the kids then decide to go to the sewers, because Will gets this information from whatever work his father's doing? Because I doubt Major Hanlon would even tell Will what he's up to, right? Because I think we're going to see the kids eventually make their way to the sewers, as we've seen already. So they've already got the information. The sewers connect pretty much Pennywise to all of Derry, and I think that's probably what he wants to use in order to wreak havoc here. And the pillars are definitely going to be interesting. There's 13 of them, and 13 that the army basically has to get in order to use it to contain it. And I just don't think they're going to be able to contain it. But what a great episode, honestly. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the next episode. It is called Nevolt Street, so we're going back to Nevolt. I think we're going to get some more information about this home as well, what it was. In It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, it played an integral role in the books and everything. It was basically the lair that Pennywise used. But that is where the Losers Club in It Chapter 1 had their first encounter with Pennywise, the dancing clown. And I'm curious to see what that encounter will look like here. We have about 4 episodes left before the finale, so we're almost there. I'm curious what's going to happen. As we've seen already in the weeks ahead, I think that these pillars will be lifted from Derry, and that's what's going to help Pennywise consume the town, as we've seen in that Weeks Ahead trailer, eventually leading everybody to the Deadlights, where it's going to try and consume the whole town in order to be able to make it out of Derry and eventually consume the world. That is what Pennywise's ultimate goal is, just a consumer world. Now, We haven't seen the turtle make its way just yet. There's the hints here and there from the video the kids are watching, and to also the place where one of the shards was put into that turtle shell. And you know, it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to unfold. I really like that they were learning about parasites, because that's something that we see Pennywise is pretty much a parasite. It sort of tries to put itself into these situations where people take the bait and then it's able to take them in. I think that's really why we also saw Will and his father fishing. The bait has been put by Pennywise, and now I think the general and the army are going to take that bait, which is going to be to take these shards off. Like, Pennywise would not allow himself to be found like that, right? So of course he's doing this on purpose. He knows the imperialistic United States and all that are like so power hungry, they'll do whatever they need to do in their eyes, and this eventually will lead them to fuck shit up, and Pennywise is going to come in to really wreak havoc because of that. And who knows who's going to save the world? We'll see, because we got 4 episodes left. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. As always, on the road to 50,000 subscribers, stay tuned for the theory videos. We'll talk about that when we get the trailer for next week's episode. That will come out this week, and I'm super excited to get more into some theories on Stranger Things Chapter 5, which starts in a week as well. Really great time for TV right now. But anyways, I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.